Welcome back to another episode of the I Tried to Be Straight podcast with
Nate
and
Susie.
Wow, we nailed that.
that was our best one yet. Susie, how was your day today?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful summer day.
Wow.
I love it.
Happy
How's your
in
day?
Sacramento right now in this 100-degree weather.
It's disgusting, but it's lovely.
If you're not from the West Coast, we're already hitting summer weather.
Yep, it's great.
Great and awful. But we go straight from allergies into
heat.
All the
just
heat.
Sweating all the time.
But yeah, I guess just want to say thank you to all the viewers for watching and all the comments you've been sending. We've been reading them, and yeah, everything you've been saying means a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're really happy to be
Do you
here.
have like a most meaningful message that you've read?
I think I've read the negative ones. Those are the ones that stick out. But we're not going to talk about those because that's not fun. I think whenever it's a personal story where they can really relate to it and it feels like it's helping them unlock something they're dealing with, that's when I probably feel the most excited because it means we're actually helping someone and impacting someone, which is kind of the point of this whole thing. So I've seen a few messages like that recently, and yeah, I would say it definitely melts me a little bit. I feel really touched that we're able to make a little impact in this world that it's pretty difficult.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's true. That's funny because I don't read the negative ones. I actually avoid them at all costs. But I read
See,
all
that's
the
probably the
ones.
healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, let's introduce our guest, Gerber. He is, and I might be saying that wrong, so correct me if I am. He's an actor.
No, you got it.
Okay, perfect. He's an actor. He's a musician. You might know him from the hit TV show Bible Man as the sidekick Cypher, which I knew him when I started talking to him, like, oh my gosh, are you that guy? And he was. And so without further ado, thank you for being here, JJ.
So excited to be here with you two. This is an awesome podcast that you run. I've been following it for a bit.
Aww.
So I love what you do. Big fan over here.
Thank you so much.
You're so sweet.
Yeah, that means a lot. We're really stoked to have you. I mean, I feel like we've really made it when we've got a Bible Man cast member. So just know that it means more to us. Like this is like 5-year-old Nate is like
Stoked.
He's goals. Like this is
that's
my
funny.
dream. Well, probably like 10-year-old Nate because I was aging out of but still. This is something I would have been very proud of.
For our people who don't know what Bible Man is, because I was not sure what Bible
You
Man
didn't
was.
know. Because she wasn't raised. You weren't raised.
I wasn't raised like evangelical Christian.
Yeah.
I came to my faith later. But what is Bible Man? If you could just give a
What
quick
is
snippet.
Bible Man?
Bible Man is kind of a Christian superhero that goes around fighting sin, pretty much.
Got it.
Yeah, it's pretty much what
With
it
a
is. With Bible
lightsaber.
verses and with a lightsaber. Yep. And as Cypher, his sidekick, I would often be prepping things on my computer and sending slushies at him apparently to fight away the bad guys. It was a whole thing.
The classic like nerd like IT guy. It's like, let me just hack that and then da-da-da-da. Yeah.
Oh, wait, how old were you when you did this?
Oh gosh, I was in my 20s when I started doing that one. Yeah, so that was about 10, 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so you came in later in the Bible Man scene, right? Like it had been going for a little bit and you were like the new young blood edition, the kid.
That's right. You got it. Yeah. For the whole cartoon series, if anybody's trying to check it out anyway. Yeah.
Yep, that's
Whoa,
it.
that's wild.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we're honored. And yeah, I think this can be our last episode of the podcast because like, where else are we going to go from here? Like, this is the peak.
No, you're hilarious.
No, but thank you, for real. But you also have a pretty crazy story as far as coming out goes, and I'd love to get into that. And also, I guess, starting out with your childhood and your family life, if that's all right.
Yeah, coming out was a journey. My goodness. I grew up in the church, as you may have guessed, having, that I did stuff with Christian theater, Christian TV, whatnot. I was in a Christian band called God Rocks for many years. And my family was always involved in the Baptist church and the Pentecostal church and non-denominational spaces, singing songs, singing worship and whatnot. And when you're a queer kid growing up, you hear every side of it all the time. You hear pastors that love to celebrate folks who are gay, who've left the gayness behind and have married women, and they celebrate gay men who choose to be celibate for their whole lives, and people who deny themselves that the love that they could possibly have from another human being. And so for me, growing up, I internalized a lot of that when I was in junior high and high school. And even though I was already performing, I was in a hip hop crew called Divine Force Company. We would tour North America and Europe.
Awesome.
telling the gospel. It was really fun. While we were doing this, I really internalized this feeling that I had to be straight to go to heaven. I was absolutely convinced of it, and so I'd be praying constantly, trying to find a way to change my sexuality, as I feel like so many queer people do. And it was so unhealthy. It was really sad and heartbreaking for me, I think, anyway. And I eventually went to university, which, everybody experiences the world in a new space when you're away from your parents. Yeah. And in my case, my parents were very involved in the church, as I mentioned. My mom's a pastor. My grandfather was a pastor. My dad used to be a children's pastor. My brother used to be a youth pastor.
Shoot.
My sister-in-law used to be a worship pastor.
Oh my gosh, so, every single person.
Extremely, literally, yeah,
wow.
You got it. So on all sides, it was just, pastoring. And of multiple denominations. My grandpa was Anglican, mother in the Brethren in Christ, which basically is Baptist in a nutshell. Yeah, it's pretty close to Baptist. So for myself, discovering the world in a new space in education and with new people that weren't Christian and didn't have the same fears of homosexuality, I started to be unafraid of myself a little bit. And I feel like, you'll have crushes in high school or whatnot, but when you meet somebody that really affects your life, sometimes that just changes and changes you fundamentally.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
And, and I met my first love when I was in university. Wonderful human being, still friends, but, didn't work out, sadly.
Yeah.
But having that experience made me realize that I couldn't deny that I had these same-sex attraction, that this was a very real part of me that wasn't going away, that was just who I am. It was a part of who I am.
Yeah.
So I remember coming out to my mom, and we were sitting on the side of a highway, and she was just like, do you need to say something? Like, what's going on? You've been depressed for like a month, because I'd broken up with my boyfriend from like 2 months earlier and had been holding on to that. And she says, yeah, are you okay? Is there something going on? And I tell her, Mom, I'm gay. And she breaks down crying. She loves me, but she also, being a product of the church, said, well, how can we fix that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she's like, I want to love you in the way of showing you that I'm here to support you in changing whatever I can. So she reached out to a bunch of pretty famous conversion therapy places that, one of them was made a movie about, actually, Love and Action.
That's in Boy Erased, right?
Yeah, Boy Erased. Yeah. When that movie came out, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is, they're being soft.
Did you go there?
In this movie. Anyway.
You went there?
So I didn't go.
Oh my gosh.
But it was very by a hair, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Because they reached out and they were talking to me, and in the conversations, I don't know if you've ever been through this or not, but I'm sure many have.
Yeah.
The first thing they do is start trying to shame your same-sex attraction. So they'll go back through every single time you've ever been attracted to somebody or had a fantasy or something of the sort. And yeah, it's all about shaming you into feeling like something was wrong about it.
Yep. Yep.
Very purity culture. And then they gave you the list of things that you're allowed to do when you arrive. So there's multiple programs that they would have. One of them, well, the main one that they would have is that you'd have to be there for minimum 3 months, which at the time, this is 2007, I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
At the time, it was about $3,000 to stay there for $3,000 to $7,000, because you had to stay there for 3 months to 6 months.
Sheesh.
And you weren't allowed to leave until they said that you were straight enough to, basically.
Gosh.
Whoa.
So it's like boot camp kind of thing. Yikes.
That's crazy.
Oh, very much so. And they gave you a list of what you were allowed to bring. Like, you weren't allowed to wear, like this shirt that I'm currently wearing, it's at bicep height. It would not be allowed.
I mean, it's provocative. Let's be honest. You're showing a little too much bicep there.
It's a little bit too much. I'll just hide that from now on.
Don't cause anybody to stumble here.
Yeah. She said that you're allowed to bring a Discman, but they would provide the CDs you were allowed to listen to at the time.
Oof.
Because they didn't allow MP3 players at the time, because they were like, you could listen to anything on that, anything unholy, you weren't allowed to leave until you publicly stated at one of their churches that you were no longer gay.
Wow.
Me, even though I had come out to my parents, I was starting to be semi well known in the Christian world with God Rocks, and if I'm being honest, I was terrified of coming out to the Christian community, because I had seen friends of mine who were gay who had been crucified by the Christian community for coming out.
Yeah.
and specifically in the Christian music scene, specifically, like they would be trying to go and perform at a music festival in the States, and then the music festival would just say you're not even allowed to attend.
Yep.
So things like this would happen. They still happen to this day. So it's not like this is ancient history.
Right. This is still happening. Yeah. For sure.
And so for me, I was like, oh, this is terrifying. A, this sounds like jail, and B, like this. Everything was feeling icky, and I was just like, I don't know how to stand. And I was going through so much depression, like sadness from this breakup, because I really did care about the guy. Yeah. And I started researching. I was like, okay, well, I need to know more about this place beyond just what they're telling me. And so I started I found some blogs on Reddit. Well, not Reddit. It was pre-Reddit. It was
Tumblr.
Dig.
I forget what the specific website was. But
Dig. D-I-G-G. Wait, was that what it's called?
Probably, actually.
And Reddit killed it. I know. I was a bit of a nerd. I mean, you were too. You're Cypher, so you get it. We're both hackers here.
So I found this forum of gay men who had actually gone to Love in Action and described their experiences. And 100% of them said things like, well, they just give you ways to, flick your wrist and when you're having a gay thought to try and make yourself think you're not gay. It's the Clockwork Orange of it all. I don't know if anybody knows that movie, but you'd make yourself sick when you're thinking of this thing on purpose. Yeah. But it doesn't actually change. It doesn't take it away. It just gives you coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
And not to say I don't think that people who are sexually fluid may exist, because I definitely do. I think that you personally can't change your sexuality, but I do think that it can change from outside influences, or like there's just things that you don't have any say in.
Right.
Yeah.
I think can possibly change somebody's sexuality, but I don't personally, especially after this, believe that you could forcibly change your own.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I really don't think that that's something that could happen, and so many places were trying so hard to do that across North America, across Canada and the United States, and they would be saying that they'd be having these people come out changed, but then everybody inside would actually be saying, no, we're not.
Right.
And it would be like 99% of them would be saying this.
Yeah.
So I told my parents, I said, look, if you send me this place and I go through this hell and I don't come out straight, I'm not going to be able to look at you guys in the face.
Whoa.
That's what I told them. And so they said that I didn't have to go.
Wow.
In the end.
Wow.
And it was a moment. I mean, they didn't fully change their beliefs at that time. They've come a long way since, I should say. But having that gave us some legs to start going on a journey of some sort. And for me, it gave me space to actually research the Bible in a way that I was able to see more things than I had before, specifically in regards to homosexuality and the queer subject.
Yeah.
And so over the next couple years, I went on an extreme journey of just trying to find myself in the church and what that meant. Luckily, in my research, I found some beautiful things. I found, some of you will probably know this already from if you're researching the Bible yourself as a gay person, that homosexuality was only actually put into the Bible in 1948. Like, that's like a term that was only just added recently.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a really big step forward for me. And of course, with my family, it was different journeys because everybody takes time to do different things.
Yeah.
But it was a first step. And I feel like when you're in a journey, when you're learning about who you are in relation to the universe around you and God, and it's really important to take the little steps and be appreciative of every single small step that you take.
Yeah.
Because the big ones can be daunting and terrifying and all that.
Absolutely.
Coming out of the closet, for one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, how was that for you when you actually came out publicly? Like, did you have a big moment? Did you make a post?
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Sorry, we're not trying to bring up trauma right now, but it sounds like we are.
No, you're good. You're good. No, it was, people who've come out of the closet know this. You don't really ever stop coming out of the closet. There's just portions of it that keep going.
Yeah.
And even me talking about this on this podcast feels like another coming out in a sense, even though I have come out before.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
And so, because every time you tell somebody you're queer or gay or something, you don't know what their reaction is going to be. You don't know if they're going to be supportive, if they're going to literally try and make you lose your
Yeah.
job. I was coming, as I mentioned, I came out to my mom pretty early, and then I started coming out to close friends. And most of my close friends were pretty supportive. There were some in the church that were not, that, you know, just immediately distanced themselves. And then I was working at this one church in Toronto. I created their dance program, and had run it for quite a few years. But then my theater career and TV career was starting to take over a bit after I left God Rocks. And so I handed over the dance program to someone else, but they asked me to come in and play the lead in their Christmas show. It was a Christian church that had these big shows, like all the big artists would go and perform there. You know, your Kirk Franklins, your Israel Houghton, the whole deal.
Nice.
And so it was a really cool spot that I loved working at. Anyway, they asked me to play this part in the musical, you know, scripted words, so not me improvising, to be clear.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'd already been quite a part of the church for probably more than a decade. Even though I'd been going to multiple churches, that was starting to become my main place. And I had been more open with who I was there, with the people that were around me, with the young adults. And anyway, I'm working this contract right before the contract at the church is supposed to start. It's actually during the time when I was voicing Cypher in Bible Man back in 2015. Yeah, I got this call from the pastor of the church. It's October, and it's supposed to start rehearsals in a week and a half. And they say, "So I've heard this rumor," and my heart just drops out.
Dang.
You know, and I know exactly where it's going before he even says anything past that. And he goes, "I've heard a rumor that you're gay," and I said, "Well, yeah, that's true. That's not a rumor."
Yeah.
You know,
Dang.
I'm not hiding that. They start to ask me some pretty intense questions like, "Well, do you think you're going to end up with a man? Are you dating somebody?" I was single. And I said, if God wants me to meet a man and God has this person for me, I want to follow that, because I'll believe that that's the thing that God wants for me. So I was pretty frank about it. He at this specific time, it was one person that started. It was about an hour-long conversation. He did not know what to do with that. He had no idea what to do with that. He was gobsmacked and said, "Okay, well, I'm going to call you back." And then I get a call 2 minutes later from the director of the show saying the exact same things almost, you know, asking about my experience with being gay and all this stuff. And it was a bit hard for me to hear, because I had worked with this director for 6 years by this point.
Oh my gosh.
Helping him choreograph and create different projects.
Yes, you're friends.
Yeah, we were friends. And then he hangs up and they call me back, the two of them, and they've decided that they say to me, "If you're willing to follow a couple stipulations, we'll let you keep the role." And I said, "Well, what are the stipulations?" And they said, "If you're willing to not enter a relationship for the duration of the contract, B, not say anything gay on social media,
What?
and C, be willing to do 3 months of spiritual counseling after the contract's over."
What?
After. Oof.
Yeah, starting in January. And terrified, I said okay.
Wow.
Whoa.
And then I didn't sleep for the entire night. I call my agent and tell her about it, and thankfully she gave me the guts to say no the next day.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember that feeling, though, of just being so terrified that I wouldn't ever have work again because I was gay.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd built so much of my life in the church. I'd built so much of my work in the church. I was creating content that was all Bible-based. You know, if you go and check out God Rock's music, there's 11 albums called Bible tunes, and they're all just Bible verses.
Wow.
So the Bible I felt like it was my calling, was to do things in that sphere. And that moment was the moment which said, if you turn this down, you won't ever work again in the church.
Dang.
You know, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so I remember that, and that's, I think, for me, one of the reasons why the first thing I said was okay, and then my whole being shut down, and I couldn't live with myself for saying that.
Yeah.
You know?
So
Dude.
that was the moment where you're kind of saying, this is probably the last thing I'll get to do. Because you had already practiced for this, and then all of a sudden, you had been in training for it, getting the show ready to go, and now all of a sudden you're not going to get that paycheck. Like that actually is affecting your like way of life.
And your calling and all the things.
But it wasn't even just for me, it wasn't actually the paycheck that mattered, if I'm being completely honest, because it was slim pickings. Like the church doesn't pay well, as we know. Right. That's not a thing. Like I'm just going to be real with you. I was going to make not enough for rent for way too much work. You know? So it was not about the paycheck for me in the slightest. It was honestly mainly about the community. It was about that I had built all of my friendships into this community, and it was my support system at that point. You know, even though I was performing somewhere else before that moment, they were the people that I would call on Monday night when I'm having a bad day, right? And I would attend there for spiritual learning. It wasn't for work. It was like it was both, you know, growing as a person myself and in community, as it was just having a place to be. Right.
So what's going through your head once you say no, you hang up that phone, or you end that meeting? Like what is happening internally?
God really took care of me. I'm being completely honest with you. I said no. I put my foot down. I instantly get a call saying, what are we gonna do? We're ruined if you don't do the show. And I said, we'll find you another actor who's willing to do it. And we did. We found him another actor who was willing to take the part and was willing to sign the clause which says you're not allowed to be gay and in the show.
Wait, was he gay though?
No comment.
So you signed someone else up to do the same thing. You made someone else sign the deal with the devil.
No. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you never know. It's theater.
Anyway,
sorry, but it's theater. It's a good dating pool. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's between him and God. Is all I'll say.
And his boyfriend.
If there is one, I'm not going to say that there is.
If he's watching this, I'm sorry. It's not Jage's fault. I'm the problem.
So, anyway, and I loved everybody in that cast, and I actually went and saw the show, and it was like a bit heartbreaking to be able to go be in the audience for it. You know, because you're like, because at that point you're like, okay, what do I do here? And for me, I originally thought to myself, I'm not going to tell anybody the story. I'm not going to say the name of the church or anything like that. A year later, I saw some friends going through the exact same thing at the same church. I saw somebody get kicked out of the production because of the same thing. So I made a public post about it.
Wow.
And I didn't actually mention the name of the church, but I wanted the Christian community at large to know that this was happening here in North America, that it wasn't just like a weird random happenstance. And I was like, this is happening. And when I made the post, I got hundreds of messages from other gay people who were currently going through the same thing across North America.
Dang.
Hundreds and hundreds. I couldn't keep up. And I got about 10 messages from people at that specific church that were actively going through that.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, when your theater program's that good, it's gonna be a few of you.
It behooves you,
And honestly, musicians too. Like, I feel like artists, often, a lot of us are queer because, you know, queer people make the best music. Just look at the top 20 hits right now. I'm just saying.
I feel like I should plug my music. I do make music, everybody. It's under John O'Josh. Go check it out on Spotify if you like.
That's awesome.
We will be checking that out after.
Finishing up a new album as we speak, actually. So that'll be pretty fun.
What's it called?
Awesome.
Anyway, Lover's Playground.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that.
Lover's Playground. It's the whole idea of the album is innocence meets fascination with the world, you know, curiosity, and an enjoyment of your sensual sides.
Dang.
All
This
right.
is creative.
This is creative. Yeah.
It's what it is anyway.
Yeah. All right. Let's go.
So what does your relationship with God look like now? What does it look like with the church? It sounds like your heart was in the church. Your purpose was in the church and in that ministry. So like, what does it look like now?
Yeah. So a lot of things shifted. I mean, as I mentioned, I was really lucky. Like there was a day that went by, literally one day. One day went by from that moment where I was terrified about not having work next. And then I got a call from a theater company that instantly hired me without me auditioning.
Whoa.
That's awesome. How'd that happen?
I have no idea, to be honest. They saw a show that I was in and said, we want you to work. And I've been, besides COVID, I've been extraordinarily lucky to have had work ever since. Now, how that affects the church is another story, because often when you're a performer, sadly, you are on the road constantly and away from your home base.
Right.
As I mentioned, my mom's a pastor, so I would often go home to try and attend her church or be a part of that community. But even that community wasn't always the easiest to be a part of.
Yeah.
They were gay accepting, but not gay celebrating, if you know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah. Just don't really talk about
for
it.
those who, well, not exactly that. Because for me, I was a pretty loud whistleblower, so I was kind of unafraid to say what was on my mind, if I'm being completely honest. It was one of those moments where they would love to have you in the seats as a gay person, and they'd be happy to have you supporting their industry, their churches with money. But if you were in a gay relationship, you would not be allowed to work there in any capacity.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of classic. It's the beat around the bush stance.
Exactly.
You don't want to say it because you don't want to be uncool or offend people, but as soon as you get too involved, that's when you're going to find out. Which almost is worse because it's like a surprise. It's like, oh, you guys are anti-gay, but we're not going to find out until I have a boyfriend. Love that.
Exactly. And quite honestly, most of the congregation thought that they were queer celebrating because they were so happy to have gay people in the seats. But the second it came to having somebody who was in a relationship in any form of leadership, and I mean like a janitor.
Yeah.
You know, like if we're paying you, you can't.
Dang it.
Yeah.
The freaking janitor with the boyfriend. Gotta get rid of that guy. He's gonna get gay all over when he's mopping the floors.
Yeah. And it was really heartbreaking because, I mean, now my mom's one of the pastors of one of the leading churches in that denomination. And there was a friend of ours who, I won't say the name because that's his story to tell, but he was working in the church and he was fighting to try and make it so that gay people could work in relationships and be there. As a result of numerous things, the church was not supportive. And so he had to leave. He ended up stopping in leadership there because he realized that wasn't for him. That was the first time, and that was actually a year and a half, 2 years ago. So pretty recent.
Wow. Dang.
Yeah. And seeing how the church has shifted from that moment has been pretty huge, because a lot of people followed him and said, you know what, we can't support this if that's how it's going to be.
Wow.
And I am hopeful that denomination specifically will be able to have more acceptance moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hopeful. I'm not saying that they will 100%.
Yeah.
They are very on the journey,
Right.
as we said earlier. It is something that I'm hopeful for them to find. It's, as I mentioned, like, I mean, obviously both of us probably have trauma when it comes to the church. So there's like levels of wanting to be more part of it. And then also guards that are up where you're like, I don't know if I feel safe to be.
Yeah.
For me, I really crossed that bridge last summer. I'm currently performing at the Shaw Festival. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's a big festival based around George Bernard Shaw and the works of his time period. And it's in Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Heck yeah.
It's stunning, gorgeous little town that lots of Americans love to come visit in the summer.
That's a beautiful area.
Yeah,
I've been there.
it's very beautiful, yeah. And last year, I was lucky, well, very privileged to be a part of the show, The Amen Corner, which is all about a church.
Awesome. So it's
Yeah.
drama. Enacting
I
drama
was-
on stage.
But for those who don't know, The Amen Corner is written by James Baldwin, who was both a pastor and a gay man himself.
Oh, shoot.
Whoa.
But he was closeted,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
Or was he open?
No, he was very openly gay after he stopped pastoring.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Dang.
And a huge part of the civil rights movement in the United States.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he wrote this play back in the 50s about his experience being a pastor, frankly.
No way.
And
that's after he came out.
Yeah.
'Cause I think I've heard a lot of his story. I didn't hear that piece of it. That's awesome.
yeah, so being in this show, which with a full cast of beautiful, wonderful black folks singing gospel music about God, hearing these words spoken that are written by a gay man about his experience in the church, and you can just feel the realities of it, like
Yep.
both the trauma and both the love that he has for the community coming through it. It made me want to go and do more research myself.
Yeah.
And go back and delve in again. And because if I'm being honest, my guard had been pretty high up until that
Totally,
experience.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so in me researching the show again, I said, you know what, I'm going to go back and reread my Bible. So I started at the top.
Dang. This is just super recent.
And yeah, it was last year, I know, yeah. I mean, I found beautiful things, but I also found some things that were scary to cross. You know, Deuteronomy is a difficult book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For those who haven't studied it recently.
No, my parents had me read the Bible at like 11. They paid us money to read it like at 11 years old. And I'm reading through this stuff and I'm like, what is this? This is some dark crap. Like everybody's like unaliving each other and a lot of grape and stuff going on.
There's that and the things that were, I mean, for me, I really wanted to look up specifically one of the things that the Bible said about trans folks.
Yeah.
And you know, I looked it up, and there's this one chapter, literally one verse. I think it's in Deuteronomy 21. I should look this up to make sure it's proper. Y'all can Google this. Keep me right.
Because we'll get in the comments later. They're gonna be like, no, it's doing
exactly.
Yep.
And I mean, this is my opinion. I will say, very much so my opinion. But the vernacular of all the translations that I read sounded kind of like a bully talking about a trans person. Mm-hmm. Cross-dressing is the word that they use, and they call it an abomination, and they don't have any context for where they're coming from for this, which, as we know, whenever a big, bold statement is said in the Bible, the first thing a pastor will say is, well, you have to go look at the context.
Right.
And so for me, I went back and was reading the context, and there was zero context. It was just out from left field. You know?
Right.
Like,
just get into that.
Just like a random comment that now makes Christians believe, and probably Jewish folks as well, because it's in the Torah, that trans people are bad for some reason. You know, and it comes from nothing. It was just like an arbitrary statement. That was just like, and that's what we're going to say. It was really heartbreaking for me to read that. And I had to wrestle with that for a couple months, because I was like, do I believe that God would just hate somebody for wearing somebody else's clothes when he literally tells us to walk a mile in another man's shoes?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like Jesus literally says that.
Yeah.
So it felt very counterintuitive to me personally.
Yeah.
It didn't detract from my belief in God, but it did detract from my belief in the inherency of the Bible personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I feel that. I mean,
as you'll hear, that comes up a lot.
Oh yeah.
No, you're good. I think we've all kind of had to struggle with that with deconstruction of, you know, reframing that from a perspective of actually reading it again without the lens of being super deep in evangelical Christianity. Actually reading it with an open mind.
Yeah.
It does change things. Like, because people say the New Testament and Old Testament are different, but the Old Testament is a part of the Bible, and they do tell you you're going to hell if you eat pigs or shrimp, or like if you don't wash on like this day of the week, you're probably also maybe going to hell. Like, you can't deny people are picking and choosing verses that they want to like get really, really strong on, you know? And once you've been on the side of it, you start to see it.
Susie, I'd love to hear your opinion on that as well.
Yeah, you sounded to say something. I know. I overtalk sometimes.
No, you don't.
No, I'm the one who's been overtalking this whole time.
No, you're literally being interviewed. If you weren't overtalking, we'd be failing.
We'd be like,
so
why is he not talking
don't
to
stop.
us?
This guy doesn't talk.
Maybe it's your shorts.
He hates us. It's my shorts. They're too short, and I made a mistake. This position's not flattering for
No,
short.
I totally agree with what you guys are saying. It's so hard for me to wrestle sometimes with, like, I see the things that are not matching within the Bible, and then I have like something in me that, and I think it's probably my like ministry school upbringing and just, you know, being years sitting in the congregation of listening to pastors who say the Bible is the word of God, breathed by the word of God, made by God, and so there's no flaws in it. And so then you get to this other side of like, well, man wrote it, and so like,
right,
if we believe that we are flawed beings, and like there's probably some flaws within the Bible, but then it's like I literally can like ping pong back in my head all day. Like I have like debates with myself. So like I totally agree. And then there's a part of me that is still getting curious about that side of me that's like, oh, why do I so strongly want to believe that the word of God is concrete when there are so many almost errors in it, contradictions, things that just aren't lining up, people who use the Bible to push their agenda. I mean, the obvious ones, Hitler, a lot of homophobia, a lot of racism, like just a lot of things happening in the world, and they use the Bible to justify these things. And I don't know, it's a tricky subject, but what I always lean back towards is just like my love of people, and the God that I've experienced has been merciful and graceful and just like full of love. And so when I sit with this, I just like, I feel a lot of compassion, and I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I 100% agree with you. For a long time, I only kind of accepted the red letters, Jesus' words to be the one thing that's to be held on to. And I think that's a big part of it for me still. But I also do believe that God is love. Like there's a part of me that just can't deny that. That is like, that as you create connections and community, you just experience something so beautiful. And when the church breaks that, it creates trauma that is unlike any other.
Yep.
And you see it with everybody that goes through that breaking of community, that you lose something, a part of yourself, a huge part of yourself. And so I feel like it's important to look at the Bible as a community building tool. And if it's not doing that, what are you doing?
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
If you're not loving your neighbor as yourself, what are you doing? That's the golden rule, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's certain verses that come to me that like when I'm reading them, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like looking at, oh gosh, literally the chapter before the chapter that I mentioned earlier. So, sorry, anyway,
No, you're good.
As I'm on the biblical rampage.
Hey,
Anyway.
we love that. love a good rampage.
Literally the chapter before the chapter that I just mentioned about trans folks is in Deuteronomy. I think it's Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 10, I believe is where it starts. They're describing how Israel is supposed to treat other nations and go to war with them. And it literally lists about 8 or 9 nations: the Amorites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Canaanites, and there's like a few more. But those ones that I just listed are literally what make up modern day Palestine. So, and in this case, it says that if you don't completely massacre them and leave none of them alive, that you're sinning against the Lord your God. And for me, I'm like, I completely believe that God is love, so how could this be written in the Bible? Right. How does that make any sense that you would genocide that God thinks that we should genocide an entire people group?
Oh yeah.
And and that's still in the Bible. Like, you go look at the Bible right now, it's in every translation.
No, absolutely.
It's there.
Old Testament is it gets wild.
Brutal.
There's a lot of that going on. Everybody's just like decimating populations, and then like God is kind of like, nice, good job, got him, murder all the people.
but also saying that it's literally a sin not to, which was the hard part for me, because for me, trying to live a holy life, if God's saying love your neighbor and that's how you live a holy life, and then also saying kill your neighbor, that doesn't make any sense.
Believing we like speak on and believe the Bible verbatim, and it's crazy when any of us are like, well, should we rethink that? Is kind of hilarious, because you have so many contradictions like that where it's like, no, this is like saying if you don't do this, you're sinning. It's like, well, obviously we're not doing that. We're not gonna do that, So here we are at the same time saying, hey, maybe there's this other thing that's really hurting people. If you were in our brains and our shoes, you'd know that the gay situation in the church is really harmful to millions. If you're not one of us, you might be able to say, hey, maybe it's not that bad and it's in our heads. But if you are one of us, this is a very brutal situation that we're all in, and no one's really talking about the verses that are very honestly easily arguable compared to a lot of other verses that people have looked past.
And on top of that, it's also, if you as a queer peer person see a parent loving a queer child, there is something that, at least for me, is unexplainable. It is a feeling of pure love, of unconditional love that the Bible talks about.
Yeah.
And I remember my first experience of that was my cousin. She is this wonderful mother. I went and visited her a few years ago. She has 3 beautiful kids, two of which are openly trans. And one who's younger and hasn't figured out their life yet, nor needs to.
Right.
And seeing the way that my cousin loved on her kids literally makes me cry just thinking about it, because these kids have the space to be able to figure out who they are. Fully, to the point where the younger one, who's in, I don't know, he's like grade 2 or something like that, he is so comfortable with himself that he can just say, you know what, I just want to play Minecraft, and that's all I'm going to think about. I don't care if I like boys or girls, or if I'm a boy or girl or whatever. I am free to be able to discover that myself, and he was able to articulate that without me even asking.
It's awesome.
So like that all that he cares about or needs to care about right now is Minecraft. And that's like giving that kid the space to be able to just be a kid, truly.
Yeah.
You know, rather than sexualizing him or anythingalizing him, you know, it's just analyzing him. It was just giving him the space to be himself. And that for me was just absolutely beautiful and true love, you know?
Yeah. It's a bit redemptive.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's literally what I was going to say. It's like, it's probably healing in some sense to watch that happen in your own family lineage, watch that like freedom and openness.
Yeah.
And so that's super cool.
It's kind of a different experience to what we had. And I think it almost hurts a little bit watching other people watching this next generation have an easier time and get to date in high school and get to be free. Not all of them, obviously, but a lot more than for millennials.
A lot more, for sure.
It hurts a little. I mean, I'm sure the next generation before that, us, feels way worse. Like Gen X, I know they had a much worse time of it. But even for me, I'm just like, everything was a struggle. It didn't have to be. And obviously with family, and that's been a struggle. And so seeing stories where it's not like that, it's like it's bittersweet. It's beautiful, but it hurts a little because it's like, yeah, you guys get this, and I'm really glad. And hopefully we can help that be more and more positive, where there's less people going through what we went through. But I'm not gonna lie, it's beautiful, but it's a little sad for our experience. You know, we lost a little bit of our.
I feel like we almost went through puberty in our 20s.
Yeah,
you know?
30s for me, honestly.
So,
I didn't come out till 30s.
20s, yeah.
I'm still hitting puberty, man. I'm mid puberty right now. Don't you hear the voice inflections?
Oh my gosh.
It's all over the place. I'm a mess.
I think it's really important to understand that, like, as people come out later on in life, to give them some space to discover who they are and what that looks like. Because I feel like the first couple of years out of coming out, you start to become your own person and figure out what that means. And often it's like a pendulum that swings and then finds some in between.
Yeah.
You know?
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you're kind of coming back into reading the Bible and figuring out, does it feel like you're kind of refreshing your faith a little bit, jumping back into it a little bit more? And are you kind of hoping that someday you'll get in the ministry again, or are you kind of closing that chapter?
Well, when I was a kid, I made a decision that I was always going to trust God for work and for what I was supposed to do next. And it never failed me, ever.
Yeah.
Every time I was out of work, something would come, and I trusted that it would come, and it did.
Yeah.
And now, shifting into this part of my life, I've been very lucky to be at the peak of my career, which has been really nice. But I do have that strange longing to have community of faith of some sort, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think once you've experienced it, it's hard to not want to keep experiencing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even being lucky enough to have a family that still loves me, you know, and my parents, even though at that one time were willing to send me to conversion therapy, now they are so accepting and supportive. Like it's amazing the journeys that people can go on to change their point of view. And it needs to be stated, like, my mom loves me, and if I were to bring a guy home to her, she would love him too.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a huge statement to be able to be said. And even my grandpa, I remember before he passed, he met somebody who I was dating and loved him before he passed. And my grandpa was an Anglican minister.
Dang.
You know, that was a beautiful thing to be able to share with him, that the people who would at one point have said things that you're like, I'll never come out to you in my life.
Yeah.
You know? Can completely change who they are. And it's important that they get the space to go on their journeys as well, while you're going on your journey of figuring out, where do I lie in the church and in society, and as a gay man, am I part of the gay world downtown? Am I a twink? I don't know. You know what I mean?
That's a big question right there. Number one.
You know, that's what everyone wants to know.
I know.
So yeah, I think that space is a really important thing. But also, caveat here, that while they're going through their journey to figure out where they stand with your gayness, that it's not your duty to educate them or to walk them across the entire coals. It's that's their journey, not yours.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. With all the projects that you're working on, you're a producer, you're a voice actor, you're doing a heck of a lot of things. What are you trying to put out there in the world that you needed as a child?
Honestly, I would say this album that I'm working on right now, it's all about connectivity. It's about bringing people together and just like finding love. And like one of the songs that I wrote is, nothing's like the love I found on my street. Can't compete. We're following your lead. Got everything I need on my street. It's meant to be like just a space of community.
Yeah.
And it's talking about how we can find love and happiness together if we choose to.
Aw.
That's so cool.
And that was kind of the crux of what I wanted my album to be about. So I would say that's the thing that I'm really trying to push right now. That's where my heart lies. I mean, I'm doing a lot of really cool things. I'm not gonna
You
lie.
are.
No, you are.
You
Voice
are.
actor, theater, and music. You're busy. You're busy for sure.
But yeah, for those who are into films, there's a new film that is currently working the film circuit called Mother, Father, Sister, Brother, Frank, and I was lucky enough to make the music for it.
Let's
So
go.
it just premiered at the TIFF Inside Out Festival
Dude,
2 days ago.
That's
So,
awesome.
Dude,
So
yeah.
soundtrack is you. You like put it all together.
Yeah, soundtrack.
that's cool.
I produced the whole thing. Yeah,
Dude, that's big.
and sang some of the songs. Yeah.
Man.
No way, producer and singer. That's really cool.
Dude, that's so cool.
So like you found a lot of, so you lost a lot, but you also gained a lot of really cool stuff. And I feel like it's not,
I gained doubly, to be honest.
yeah. And you're still going to put like your heart and soul into
Yeah.
projects more so, and you're getting to be your whole self. Whereas probably in a lot of your church projects, you were obviously hiding a chunk of yourself, right? And now it's able to all be out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And even so, like, it's funny because today, I guess, I was invited to a Christian artists group of collaborators in my area. And you know how earlier I mentioned that every day you're coming out yet again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
These people know some of them know who I am from, having heard of Bible Man or whatever. But every new space is one of these things where I'm like, I'm so excited that I get to share this space with you, but am I going to be safe to share fully who I am with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the steps that we step into. It's like every day is figuring out how much do I share with the world? How much do I be fully myself for protection's sake?
Yeah.
Right.
Because in the church, it can literally lose you a job.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it can. Yeah.
So you're kind of going
Yeah.
into it a little bit carefully. So make sure we air this podcast after that.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm
I'm
just
pretty.
kidding.
I've already kind of dropped the bomb in this case. So,
Okay.
and I've already dropped the bomb in the group chat.
Well, I'm thinking like for the cover photo, we have your face really big and then have rainbows flying around.
I love it. I
You know?
love it.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
cool. Sparkles. That's fine.
As long as there's glitter.
And just like I'm gay, like as the title. I can see already. I do graphic design on the side, so I got this. Easy.
I love it. That sounds great.
No,
So funny.
it's really bold. Like I don't know. It's awesome that you're still willing to step in that space. I respect it, and still have connection with God and
Yeah.
navigating all of that. It's cool. I think you've been in the middle of all those worlds all the time, and you've had to keep your heart soft in the middle of all that. It's really awesome.
No. Yeah. Literally same sentiment. I feel like we're reading each other's minds today.
Well, sometimes we're in sync.
Yeah. Like I was just thinking, it's amazing that instead of shutting your gifts down because of this incident that happened to you, instead you doubled down trusting God, and then the doors just like swung open in every which way. And I think we have some like aunties probably listening and uncles, and they probably have heard your voice on My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Yeah, if people don't know.
Oh yeah.
Or is that just coming out this week? The Netflix show, right?
It is the Netflix show, yeah, and YouTube and the video games and all that stuff, yeah.
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 Wait, what's your character's
So
name?
for Generation 5, it's Hit Trailblazer.
Nice.
Yes.
Which is appropriate.
You're a trailblazer.
Oh, that's you're gassing me up now.
Oh yeah. Easy to do.
No, yeah, like I just think that
Yeah.
God is putting you in these like spaces and places and in platforms to just like keep making an impact, and like you're just such a positive, radiant light. Even in our conversation now, I'm like, man, this dude is freaking cool. Like I want to hang out. So just appreciate your time, and yeah, dude, keep getting it. I'm excited to listen to the album
Yeah,
that'd
me
be cool.
too.
and the movie.
Yeah.
Thanks. Maybe I'll give you a sneak peek sometime.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
we
yeah.
would love to hear it.
Yeah.
It's great to hear a happy story.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's some sad bits, but the current state is happy, and that's awesome.
You also just seem very positive, so
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, you gotta be, right? you're in
You kinda have
you're
to,
in
yeah.
media. You have to have some real positive energy to push through the media circuit, right? It's quite a ride.
To a degree, yeah, for sure.
Energy.
he's got Riz.
That or you get pretty jaded, so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you got it. No.
But So I'm curious, Nate, you said that you came out late in life. I'm curious about how that journey's been through going through what I like to call gay adolescence.
That is.
Oh, okay. Hitting me with the questions. Yeah, it's actually a good conversation. Yeah. We were thinking about talking about it at some point more in depth because it's been interesting because I've been trying to figure out my place because obviously I still read Christian to a lot of people. And I don't want to go too deep into things that I feel like I need to do just to cross off the like coming out checklist. Because I think I've gone to some parties, like I've like not just done nothing, but I don't really enjoy scene life. Like I'm just not really that kind of person. I get tired. Like I'll go have a night and dance with some friends and it's great. But then like, I don't know how people do that every week. I'm like, that's crazy. So
Gay bars are expensive.
And they're expensive, man. I'm a frugal boy, but they do pour heavy. Let's be honest. You only need like 1 or 2 drinks if you're me. I'm like, they pour me one and I'm like, I'm good. So it's been interesting. I've dated a lot. And I've made sure to like keep my mind open and try dating different kinds of people. Like I still am figuring out what my type is, honestly. Like I feel like I've dated guys that I thought wouldn't be my type and then were, and guys that like I thought would be my type and were, and it's honestly, it's like being a teenager. I am still figuring it out one day at a time, and I don't think I've really like fully fallen in love yet, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. I think maybe I've fallen in love with people that didn't love me back, but I've never had like the both of us loving each other love, so I'm still looking forward to that, honestly.
That's a big moment. I will be fingers crossing for you.
Yeah, same.
I know. Me too, honestly. I think it will.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic. I think what I would say to other people is like and I've said this before, I'm so happy to be out even though I haven't had like that huge romance moment. I've had a lot of close romance moments and just feel so much lighter and happier just being myself. So no regrets here.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Our little Nady poo.
Oh, okay. Okay. Don't patronize me. I'm a man. I'm a big,
no, you're a little Nady poo.
I'm a man. Sorry.
Not the voice actor making fun of me.
You're great.
With a catchy voice.
Oh my gosh, are you good at impersonations?
Oh no.
Say again.
Are you good at impersonations?
Obviously.
Oh, I'm terrible. I'm terrible at impersonations.
Okay.
Oh, man. I do accents though. I do a lot of accents.
Okay. You're gonna have him impersonate me.
Yeah.
I knew it. Don't try.
Oh man.
You're gonna have him impersonate me?
That was good.
Really?
Yeah.
I sound like that?
All right, JJ. If people wanna,
I sound like that? Stop. Okay,
no.
If
Stop working
people
together.
want to find you, if they want to slide into your DMs, are you single? ? Let the people know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hit me up over on Instagram at jj.gerber for sure. Come on by. Happy to say hi to everybody. I tend to respond within a day. I have a very busy schedule. I'm currently in 7 shows right now, so it's very, very busy. But I will respond within a day. I'm pretty good trying to say hello.
Awesome.
Heck yeah. Okay.
And then where can people find your new album?
Yeah, it'll be on Spotify. It'll be on all the platforms when it drops. I'm currently editing the last music video as we speak.
Ooh.
So that will be dropping soon. I'm not going to give a date yet because I want to, cross the T's, dot the I's before it comes out. But it is coming soon. And if you want to go check out Mother, Father, Sister, Brother Frank, it is currently doing the festival circuit. It's going to Brooklyn next week.
Whoa.
You might have to check in quick because the last show fully sold out really quick.
Yeah.
So you might have, if you're hoping to see it, you might have to jump in really quick. But it's doing a full tour across the United States and Canada.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dang.
Let's check that out.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being with us. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Ditto.
Yeah.
This was great.
No, this is a lot of fun. Great seeing other people doing awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I know if you're ever in Sacramento, come say hi.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess that's it
Done.
Yeah.
for this episode
Yeah.
of the I Tried to Be Straight
Podcast.
with Nate and Susie and
And
JJ.
boom.
woo.
See you.
See you guys next
Hot
week.
out.